In the name of the Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer. Amen. Please be seated. Christianity is an Advent religion. It's somewhere in between the yes and the not yet. The one we've been waiting for, who has been born, but not yet. These readings are to prepare our hearts and minds for incarnation and Christmas. It's not just a celebration of that one moment on the calendar. It should be a celebration we live in and out throughout our days, preparing our hearts for the incarnation. It should be like a mindset, a perspective, a set of glasses that we put on, that we're always looking for the incarnation, no matter how dark it feels. So John was in jail, and John's disciples go to Jesus and they say, hey, are you the one we're looking for? Is it you? And Jesus, in very Jesus fashion, does not answer with a yes or no. It would have made today's gospel story really short, right? Instead, Jesus says, what do you see? What do you see? And then quotes Isaiah, this beautiful poem of restoration and joy. This poem that was written for the Israelites as they were captured in Babylon, hoping and longing to be back home, that promise that God has made. And it's a beautiful poem of joy. Do you see the deaf here, the leopards that are cleansed, good news for the poor, fulfillment of God's promise? Perfect for this Sunday, the Sunday of joy. I've been listening to this podcast series. It's called The Poetry of Christmas, and it's written by Matthew Meyer Bolton. And I know that's a very priestly thing for me to say, but I recommend it for everyone. It's called The Poetry of Christmas, put together by Salt Project. And he's been talking about how poems and Isaiah and poetry can help us put on the right mindset for Christmas. And so he was talking about Mary Oliver in an interview and Mary Oliver, who's a fantastic poet. And if you haven't had a chance to read any of her poetry, she's phenomenal. Pick it up at the library. It's beautiful. But in an interview, he asks her, what is a poem? And she answers it like this. She goes for walks in her backwoods, and she always makes sure to bring a notebook and a pencil. And sometimes she drops the pencil along the way, so she's been known to put pencils in different trees all along her pathway. That's her answer for what is a poem, is this method she undertakes every day. Because poems and poetry isn't just a set of words together. It's a mindset. It's a way of being. To help her put on this mindset, to train her body, mind, and being to look for these things, like an investigative look for these things that are miraculous and beautiful and amazing in everyday life. She does not want every day to be just boring. She wants to discover the amazement in even the drab. Never for it to be prosaic or without the beauty of poetry. And so she connects with this as a perspective on life. And she also talks about how by doing this, she's connecting to God's poetry of life, connecting to God's epic poem of creation and beauty. And so she sees joy and God's redemptive, restorative ways in everyday life. But it takes a mindset, it takes a way of looking at the world to see it. So I think that is a major lesson we can learn from Mary Oliver, is that our prayer and our scriptures is a mindset. It is a way of being and seeing. We walk through the earth not with just our notebooks and pencils. We should be looking for how God's love and light and hope has entered this world. We should walk in expecting God's hope, because we know it is just part of who God is. She also describes how people go long distances to be amazed by God's beauty. They'll travel to Alaska, they'll travel to Montana, they'll travel all over to be amazed by God's beauty, but she does not want to do that. She said she would rather walk in her backyard because the amazement and the beauty is found even there. That's a second lesson we can take from her life and this way of being, is that we as Christians shouldn't be just amazed and captured by God's incarnation on Sunday during our hymns or during the beautiful music. It should be something we see and seek every moment of our waking days. And I believe that if we participate, if we look for it, if we now announce it and proclaim it, that we become part of it too, that restorative part of God's joyful way of being. I'd like to talk a little bit, just a quick note about joy. Joy being the theme of today's Sunday. Joy is so much bigger than an emotion. You can have a collision of emotions when you're experiencing joy. Joy is something so much larger and broader than us. It's so much bigger and broader than happiness or contentment. And we know that. Here's a clue to that because of how we use it in our language. We say enjoy. To enjoy. Go enjoy your day. We don't say in happiness or in contentment of your day, because joy is larger than ourselves. We are immersed in it. So, thinking about that, thinking about it being this manifestation of all these different complicated emotions. Sometimes it's sorrowful, sometimes it's laughter, sometimes it's all at once. A theologian wrote that joy is when the moment you know you are loved and beloved by your Creator. You're experiencing that love and joy. That's it. That's being in it. So, we are to have this perspective of looking for these moments of joy and redemptive love everywhere, all the time. I'd like to offer up a poem from Mary Oliver. It's called Mindful. Every day I see or hear something more or less. It kills me with delight that leaves me like a needle in a haystack of light. It was what I was born for, to look, to listen, to lose myself inside of this soft world, to instruct myself over and over in joy and acclamation. Nor am I talking about the exceptional, the fearful, the dreadful, or the very extravagant, but the ordinary, the common, the very drab. The daily presentations, O good scholar, I say to myself, how can you help but grow wise with such teachings as these? The untrimmable light of the world, the ocean's shine, the prayers that are made out of grass. May we this December begin to practice this way of life, expecting and knowing and looking for the incarnation, the redemptive light and love and joy of our Creator. And may it not be just something that happens during December. May it be a practice that we live out through all our days. Those days that are full of light and love and joy, and especially those days that are really, really dark. Because that God is in all of those moments. And may we participate in the restoration. expecting that life-giving knowing of hope and light is everywhere.